Hi, I'm John Byrne with Poets and Quants. I'm here with the provost of UC Davis, Marie Krogan, to talk about the dean of the UC Davis Graduate School of Management, Rao Unnava, who is our Dean of the Year.
Yes.
So that's a great honor, and it's well-deserved. And Provost Krogan, I wonder if you might identify some of the leadership traits that you think have made Dean Unnava so successful.
Oh, I'd be happy to do so. The traits that he exhibits, he is one of the most selfless people you can imagine. He's always thinking about what's the best for the students, this faculty, UC Davis, and he comes forward with creative and very innovative ideas of how to address the needs of students and faculty. For example, he's created a stackable certificate program that can be used by alumni from the Graduate School of Management so they can continue to have lifelong learning opportunities and also look at additional degrees after they've graduated and keep up to speed on what's happening in their field. Rao also was integral to our development of an undergraduate business major here at UC Davis, and that was 30 years in the making. For 30 years, people have been asking for an undergraduate business major, and students this fall of 2024 can finally apply for that. So we'll have our first class next year.
Now, what's your impression of Dean Rao Unnava?
My impression is, as I mentioned, it's very hardworking, but he knows how to get the things done, even if the system is very complex.
Which is a real skill.
Yes, it is.
And takes a lot of patience.
Definitely. It is very reflective when we speak with him about how simply he thinks and he kinds of approaches the problem, particularly getting some things done in UC system.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Min, what's your impression?
I remember the first time I met Dean Rao was on our opening of our welcome session, and then he gave a speech. And I had time and an opportunity to sit next to him, and I heard his story about how he is connected with his MBA peers for more than like 20 years, if I remember that correctly, but more than definitely a few decades. And I was very curious, and I asked me, like, how did you build a relationship like this and it's so strong and so bonded to each other? And he answered the trick, like the question, like the secret is to remove yourself from the equation. Think about how you can give before what you can take. And by the time, like, I really learned something that day, and I realized this is like a really a person, charming person, and full of wisdom. And I feel like he truly has and capable to lead the school.
That's great. Okay, now, Vanessa, you actually teach 3 courses as a lecturer at the school. So I want to start with you. One of the courses you teach is creating an epic personal brand. Mm-hmm. So let me just ask you, what is Rao Unnava's personal brand?
So Rao, I think, is such a unique mix of both selflessness and humility, but also bravery. So something I've noticed about Rao and what he's accomplished here at the business school is they are all hard things to do with a lot of barriers in front of them, right? And a lot of us, even leaders, might say when faced with barriers like that, well, there's a reason why there's a lot of barriers, and kind of go to the status quo. But what Rao does is he sees them as a reason to do something. He asks why, and then he's brave. And he pushes past those barriers. He seeks to understand, and that's why he's been so successful and positioned us so well as a business school. And while he does this in such an amazing way and has so many accomplishments, as you're very well aware, he is also incredibly humble. And humble not only in how he treats people, but how he gets to where he goes. So we have a lot of things that Rao has started, all that have really helped our brand, right? But he doesn't look at branding. I mean, he's a brilliant marketer himself. He doesn't look at branding as just a bunch of, step 2, I'm gonna megaphone this. He looks at branding as really positioning, right? So in starting his stackable certificates, in starting EOS, in starting industry emergence, these are all things that change students and alums' lives, right? They help them immensely. They also happen to help push us forward and help our brand, but he's doing it with that servant humility aspect in mind. That's what drives him, and then it just happens to position us well. I thought when you wrote about the quiet revolution regarding Rao, that was exactly who he is. In fact, at every reception, you'll see him cleaning up last. You will.
Now, Vinny, you've been deeply engaged with the alumni base since your graduation. At one point, you were president of the Association of Alumni of the school. So you know firsthand Rao as well and his impact on the institution. Tell us what you think.
Well, you know, you see the school from a much different lens, having been out as an alum as many years as I have, as you pointed out. The thing is you see how the school has evolved over the years and who has been put in that position of leading the enterprise, you know, at various stages, right? And so back, you know, 30 years ago when I started, you know, I'll throw a little homage to Bob Smiley, who, you know, was an innovator in his own right, who felt the need to create a we call it the Working Professionals Program, now Sacramento Part-Time Program, but he drove that with the faculty, and it was a major innovation in the mid-90s when it was launched.
And you were in the first class.
I was in the first class. I was in the charter class. How they let me in, I have still no idea. But be that as it may, over the years, you know, we've had various, you know, folks in that role, and you know, the school always has faced any number of different challenges, having to stand on its own 2 feet financially, and faculty evolving and all this. But you know, when Rao showed up, I felt like he was just a great steward. I liked him immediately. He just came across with a warmth that was not typical. And he was a good listener, and he wanted to hear more about the alumni and how to engage them more effectively. You know, so for the better part of 20 years, I've stewarded a Sacramento alumni luncheon that we meet three months out of the year for lunch, and we get between 30 and 40 people depending on the topic showing up. Yeah. Rao has showed up at almost every luncheon. Okay, I mean, I'm honored the fact that he shows up, but he shows up. And he engages with the alumni, and you know, we give him his, you know, 5 minutes to give the update of what's going on at the school, and it gives him a chance to meet an assortment of new faces all the time, and you can watch him engage with people. So, and he was also unique in that he came from an entrepreneurial background, you know, with being one of the starters of Angie's List and all that program, and so he came in with a solid business background, not a pure academic. So that I think put a couple of you know, good notches in his belt as far as I was concerned.
There's a lot of really great things to say about Rao. His leadership style is one where he puts a lot of passion into his job. So that's one thing I really appreciate Rao, is the amount of passion he puts into his position. And with that, he likes to be very innovative and stay on top of things. So he's always trying to think of, what do we need to do next? And that is super important in today's business school environment, because it's just so rapidly changing.
True.
I mean, to echo Shelley, I think a lot of what was discussed, I completely agree with. You know, if I try to think of his role in the MSBA program, so when he arrived, I had just become tenured here at the school, and you know, then he asked if I might be interested in leading the program, and you know, being new to everything here and being new to administrations, on the administration side, he provided a lot of support, and I think that's something that you know, in his role as dean, he has done quite a bit across all the programs, and also other, you know, when I worked on committees or things like that, where he provides a lot of mentorship on how to deal with difficult situations, or if we're, you know, working with campus, what part to focus on, what not to. And when we get stuck, when there are headwinds, he always, you know, chimes in with his thoughts, or sometimes he himself takes action by going and talking to people on campus.